Okay, my question is to Mr. Utter. You made a comment about the numbers of people, of I guess ethnic people, black people in prison. The numbers are so high. But when I look online, if you look at mug shots for Marion County, there are like 3,000 people in the jail. And it may be 2,000 people that are white, but out of the 2,000 people that are white, most of the people that are black go to prison. I can't understand if the same crime applies to both people, why is it when they go to court and it's time to be sentenced, the sentence isn't fair. The black people go to prison, they get the year and a day, so they get the felony charge. They can't vote. They have no means to get a lawyer, they get a public defender. They're not getting the best of the legal system to help them. My question is, what can we do to improve that? Now, I have been thinking, I mean, I'm not into the law, not at all, but to me, it seems as though it would be fair if a person blinded their eyes to the fact that she's white or she's black and look at the crime what a person did. And it seems like in America, we as black people, we get the short end of the stick every time. When it comes to the education for our children, if a child goes to public school, they go to magnet school, they may have a set of books to take home, the co-magnet have a set of books for the class, and the regular kids don't even have a book at all to read. I have a problem with that. And I just think the system stinks. It really does. As being a parent, a grandparent, a citizen of this country, a citizen of this community, I don't see no progress happening, and we need progress. I get tired of seeing people on the street corners. You go to church, well, the men are not in the church. You have all these single people everywhere, single women raising their families. That's not fair because all the men are locked up in jail. They're in prison. She was asking me about where can we find a man at. I said, well, go to the jailhouse. You might find one there. I mean, that's just being serious. All of our men, black men, are locked up for crimes that should not be. It's not fair. I think a person should be judged by what they do. It shouldn't be the color of your skin. It shouldn't be where you come from. If you have a lot of money, you get a treatment program because you're on drugs. But if I don't have no money, my child goes to juvenile, but your child goes to the camp, the dude ranch, to get some help. That's not fair to us. It's not fair to the community at all. If we want our children to be the future, we need to invest in our children. If we spend $20,000 to house somebody in prison, but you can't give them a job making $20,000 a year, something is wrong with that. Then you're saying it's going to the private sector, they're coming in, they're making money. Okay, I invest. Can I invest in that program too? Can we make some money off of that also? That's what it is, it's all about money, it seems to be. I think as a community, we need to step up. We need to demand our representative, Mr. Baxley. We are petitioning you to send some of those billions of dollars to our community because we need help. We don't want to go around and see our kids not having what they need, especially books, especially going to school and they know that they cannot achieve because someone, the guidance counselor is telling them you're not going to be this or that. That's not fair. I've experienced that with my child as well. But I don't let nobody tell me that I'm a nobody because I know I am somebody. And I encourage this system has to stop because when we go to vote and we only see, when I went to vote, I seen maybe 3 black people there to vote. And it hurted me. My mom, she was on oxygen. I took her, my daughter, and myself at a voting poll, and that's all that was there. Why? Because people are afraid. People have no idea I can get my rights back. They need their rights back. And to go through a whole line of petition, of paperwork, to say, okay, I was a felon, you gave me a year and a day and I can't vote because I stole a pack of cigarettes out the store, that's crazy. Now if I kill somebody, I can walk away. If I kill my child, I can walk away and do nothing. And I don't have a felon on my record. We have a problem with that. The society stinks. So I really hope that we do better about what we do. We say one thing, but we do another. I hope that we do what we need to do because we need to go forward. That's the bottom line.
You know, that's a really powerful and very eloquent comment, and you can your frustration with the system is palatable. And thank you very much for your passion and for asking the question. I'm going to tell you all one thing, one super simple thing that doesn't require revolution, it doesn't require a decade of change. It just requires one policy shift at the Department of Juvenile Justice, and it addresses the issues that some of the educators here, some of the mental health experts, and some of the parents and grandparents have talked about. The vast majority of kids that are those exceptional students that are exceeding and are in advanced placement, they're going to make it. You know, I'm not exceptional by any means, but I was one of those kids, and I was a screw up as a teenager, and you know, thank God for the color of my skin, or I would have been locked up as a kid. But the key is that, and I mean decades, 30 years of research has shown us that a real simple after-school program, Boys and Girls Club, church program, midnight basketball, tutors, mentors, you know, paying college kids to go hang out with a teenager who's got two parents or even one parent that's working. You know, it can even be a white male role model for the black kid whose dad is locked up. Those are called protective factors. You know, when this gentleman talked about his son fighting for his grandson's right to be an AP, that's a protective factor. And that stuff's a heck of a lot cheaper than a prison bed for a kid. But for the past 20 years in Florida, we jump at the opportunity to build a prison bed, but we don't fund those neighborhood, community, and family-based programs that we know work. I had a horrible experience at the legislature this year where I tried to push for more prison beds getting closed and capturing that money to be put in these community programs. And I was literally fought by the governor, by the governor's office, by Secretary Walters. And, you know, I mean, and that raises, that's my second point. There's some people in Tallahassee that are angry at me about this, but this is an issue that can't wait. And if you're going to tell me that our bureaucracy can't move quickly enough to save children from harm, then, you know, that's why they need us to pressure them. You know, I mean, no system changes without pressure. Some of it happens from within, and thank God for Representative Baxley, because he's one of those people that's working from within. But, you know, they need us to sort of, especially these state agencies, they need the pressure. So I would encourage you. Let me just tell you two quick client stories from my career as a lawyer about this race issue. I represented one of the young men in the Jena 6. It was one of those cases out of Louisiana where you had a noose hanging from a tree. The state attorney, or the prosecutor as they're called in Louisiana, prosecuted 6 African-American kids for beating up a white kid. Had nothing to do with the noose, but I had no question that that judge had racial animosity toward my client. No question. And, you know, thanks to some very good lawyers, not me, we were able to get those kids a fair shake, and every single one of those African-American children now is in college, you know, because they had decent lawyers. And that's really heartening, and that's an example of a bad judge trying to do a very bad thing. Whether he had racial animosity, never said the N-word or anything like that, but he called my clients thugs. Didn't know my client. So, you know, there is racial animosity in the system. Another case out of Lake Charles. An African-American boy and a white boy commit a crime together. It was a horrible purse snatching. They grabbed the purse from an elderly woman's hand. The woman fell. She had a, you know, skull fracture, went to the hospital. Awful, awful case. You know, but they were 13 years old. The white kid got probation. The black kid got juvenile life in Louisiana's prison system. I saw him. I only knew about this case because I remember reading about it, and then 3 years later I saw him in the prison system because I sued the prison because of its incredible violence against these kids. I know the judge that did that disposition, and it wasn't a racist judge. But I do know what that judge did was they looked at the white kid who's got a family at home, who she knew she could put back into that house with conditions of probation, and that kid was going to make it. There wasn't going to be another victim. But the African American child didn't have that. They had a working mom who was, probably had 3 jobs, if not 2. And, he was trying to balance things. Now, the reason the kid ended up in Tallulah, the prison that I represented, is because Louisiana did the same thing that Florida's doing now, and we're not funding those protective programs. If you've got that program, I've got great faith in our judges and our prosecutors. If you have an effective program in the community, I trust that racial animosity isn't there, and they'll put those kids in the programs. The problem is we're underfunding those programs and funding prisons. Did that make sense?
Absolutely.